Okay, I'm back in the pump room, and something we haven't gone over in a while is our rainwater collection system, which we have our filter system here, and then we have a 2,500-gallon tank behind me, and then one on the other side of the pump room. And the system is working great. Got a couple of complaints on water pressure, so I'm going to try and resolve that today. But our biggest issue is bacteria. Natalie got sick probably 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago now. And we took it in to get her tested, and she had a kind of bacteria which we were, it leaves like a red residue in your tubs and sinks and things like that. And we knew that we had that in our tub, and we thought it was maybe like an iron or something like that, some type of mineral in there. And it turns out that reddish, pinkish end up being like a bacterial growth. So it turns out this is a pretty common problem in water systems today, especially when they have carbon filters on it. So if you're in the city and you have a carbon filter, it takes out any chlorine that's in your water, and that allows this bacteria to grow. Whether you have it or not, it's going to start growing. It's just this bacteria is everywhere. So we're on rainwater, so we don't have any chlorine in our water to begin with. So that bacteria is already in our tanks. We had our tank water tested recently after Natalie got sick, and it turned out that particular bacteria is in our water. So what it did is it gave her a sore throat, and she got some antibiotics, and it went away. It was no big deal. The water testing that we did, we tested both of our tanks. We tested at every water outlet in the house, every shower, every faucet, anywhere where we would have water coming out. We tested everything. And we found that, of course, our tanks are untreated. We throw bleach in there every now and then, but they had all sorts of bacteria growth in there, which is what you expect. There's a biofilm layer which forms inside your tank. There's a whole ecosystem going on inside these tanks behind me. But if we start chlorinating our tanks, they'll kill everything in there, and I haven't done enough research to know if that's something I want to do or not. Because we found that the filters are actually doing their job just fine. No bacteria or anything is getting beyond our filters and into the house. So on this UV light here, it has a counter that counts down for 1 year. And when the 1 year is up, you're supposed to change the bulb out. Aquasana automatically sends us a new bulb. But I didn't want it just to burn out in the middle of the night, and then all of a sudden all the bacteria is getting through the UV filter and is now going throughout the house. So what I've done is I bought a second UV filter. So now the light or the water will go through 2 UV filters and then out into the house. I got it off eBay, and it was an open box, but everything was still sealed up. I mean, when I got the box, it was just like unwrapping a brand new filter. So I got this for $250. When I called Aquasana, they wanted, I think it was $800 and something for the filter if I bought it through them. When they knew they were losing me, they dropped the price to, I think it was $600. But still, this is the exact same setup, exact same bulb. It's identical to what I have. It was all in the packaging, $250. So I'm going to basically mount this right there. One thing to combat the bacteria is, if you remember, when I rigged this up behind me, all this system here, this goes down to the barn. So the water that we have going down to water the animals and the gardens and stuff like that is just straight water out of one of these tanks. So we know there's bacteria getting down into that area, and we thought maybe Natalie got it from washing her hands in the hose bib down there, watering the animals, and maybe she got the bacteria that way. So we want to get filtered water now down there to the barn. So what I need to do here is change this up quite a lot. So right here is where I broke off. This comes from the tanks, and I broke off here, ran along the back, and then this is a check valve right there, and now it goes down and then down to the barns. And then this is the return from the well water. If we ever get that hooked up, it's made to where I can turn this on and it'll fill our tanks. So anyways, when I put this filter here, it's now going to come down. It'll go against the wall. It will tee down. I'll hook it into this pipe, or it will go up and then just continue off to the house. To try and combat our pressure issue, I can never understand why everything is 1-inch pipe until you hit here and they drop down to 3/4. So I'm going to change all this out to 1 inch go 1 inch up in here. So this is a 1 inch fitting, but then they drop you down to a 3/4. So anyways, this will all be 1 inch. Be 1 inch all the way through here into this one. This will be 1 inch. That's already a 1 inch pipe. And then when it goes up, all this is coming out. I'm going to take this bypass loop off because I'm not going to use it. There's no way I'm going to open this valve when I know that there's probably bacteria in this pipe because that's straight from the tanks. So anyways, I'm going to get rid of the bypass loop, run a 1 inch line up above, and then the pressure tank right there is going to go up onto the second floor. So hopefully my thought is that will get a pressure source higher up, because from the finished floor level that I'm standing on now up to basically the third floor where the master bath is where most of our water issues happen. That's like 15 feet, about 15 feet, and into the shower head you got another 6 feet. So we're looking at like 21 feet to get up there to the top. And we're assuming that's some of our issues with getting water pressure. And then also the line that runs to feed the other side of the house goes clear up 14 feet all the way across the garage and then drops back down. So I'm hoping by setting that pressure tank up above that it will resolve that problem. And then what I'm going to do is, this is the exact same fitting that's right there. So I'm going to unhook that. I'll put a cap on it that'll hook onto this coupling piece. And then upstairs will be rigged up with the 1 inch line will come in right there. So what I can do is I can actually move this back if it doesn't work. So this will have a plug on it. I can just unscrew the plug. If I need to move this back, move the plug to the upstairs and then move that back down here if it doesn't work. Hopefully that makes sense. So my goal, I've got an appointment at 3 o'clock and it's about noon right now. I'm hoping I can get this all done in about 2 hours. Okay, I got the pressure tank draining now. Turned off the valves on both sides so the pressure can stay in the rest of the system. Open the pressure tank up. I'll let that finish draining while I'm getting the pipes ready for it, gluing those PVC pieces together. And then I'll start cutting all the plumbing apart there to get it put back in. I told the family we're going to be out of water for at least an hour. I hope it doesn't take that long, but it could take 2. I don't know, we'll see. It'll be fun trying to get this water pressure tank up onto the mezzanine, so I'll figure out how I'm going to do that one by myself. Well, I just went to tighten this fitting up and it did not seem to get tight at all. So I'm going to go ahead and put more Teflon tape on it. I'm going to get some pipe dope too and get that on there, because once this is angled over it may be really tough to try and replace this. So I'll do as much as I can now to keep it from leaking. Oh, doing this is just like a race against time, trying to get everything done, because you got water dripping and it's kind of hitting my control box here on the edge, but I don't think that's too big of a problem. I tried to bend this out of the way. I thought I had a plug. I don't have a plug, so it's just been kind of chaotic trying to get this done as fast as I can. But so reroute it. I still have my drain tube here. I just took the shutoff valve that was up there, moved it down to that spot so that I can still drain the system when I go through and I change filters. So now the water comes up through this UV filter, over, down through that UV filter. This is the addition where we used to hook up to this pipe here, which went straight from the tanks. Now the water going down to the barn is going to be, so it'll go over here, down, and that goes into that 300-foot hose or tube that I buried down to the barn for the hose bibs. So now down at the barn we'll have filtered water instead of water from the tanks that has the bacteria in it. Not only should that be good for us when we're down there, we got to wash our hands after messing with the animals or things like that, but also the animals won't have that bacteria in their water now as well. So everything will be filtered. Now I've just got to run the pipe up the wall. So I'll go from here straight up through, and then I got to get that pressure tank, that big bad boy over there. I got to get that up there. And then get that hooked up. But I'm pretty much done down below. Everything's about ready to go here. Here's where the line came. This line hooked onto there, that bypassed the filters. This is my bypass loop for the system, which of course we're never going to use. I don't know if I mentioned this before yet, but if we use this bypass loop, what it's meant for is that if you're servicing these filters, you can still get water to the house by just bypassing the filters. It came up over and hooked in here and then went up to the rest of the house. They would bypass the filters so the house still has water. Of course, we definitely don't want to do that because this line coming from the tanks has that bacteria in it, and we would just be feeding bacteria throughout the whole house. So there's absolutely no point in having the bypass loop. We would just need to shut everything off when we do our servicing. I'm going to go ahead and get my UV light into this side. When I did it the first time I set this one, it was really confusing. Of course, now I know what I'm doing. So I know that there's this sleeve that's got to go in there first. I did not know that the last time, and it kind of threw me for a loop trying to figure out how to get this all put together. Again, so this is the one that I bought off eBay, and clearly everything in here is new. It's all packaged up nice and neato. Get this all out. There's my protective tube. So that actually, where is the, yeah, this guy slides down in there. Then your spring goes in like so. Then your little O-ring fits on top of that. That guy screws in there. Get that nice and tight. You gotta make sure you do not touch this. So this will just slide down in there and it's gonna hit that spring. Bounces like that. And that pushes down, turns. That's it. So I get this screw on there, my grounding screw, which I can do. So again, the idea behind this is I'm not only wanting to double proof so that the bacteria is not getting in to our house, but then also now if this light goes out, this one's still running. The chance of them both burning out at the same time is really slim. And then I already have an extra bulb because Aquasana already sent me one for this. So right now I have 2 bulbs and a spare just waiting in case one goes out. So I'm pretty well set on these. And it also looks pretty cool. I think it looks pretty nice. I was going to say something else. Oh, one thing I read is a lot of people say you can't use PEX on these. The UV light will damage it. And that's true, but what I read is that it damages it to the point there's a chlorine coating on the PEX piping. And the chlorine, of course, will eat the plastic apart. But the carbon filter would filter out any chlorine if we even had chlorine in the system, which we don't. So even if the UV light degrades the plastic and takes off that film that will keep out chlorine, so the chlorine won't damage it, it doesn't matter because there's absolutely no chlorine in our system at all. And if we did decide to put chlorine in the tanks, the carbon filter would filter it out before it got here. So although yes, the UV light will damage the PEX piping on here, it's not going to blow up or burst or anything on you. Now, if you lose that coating and you have chlorine, the chlorine will slowly degrade your pipe, and in 5 years or so, it may spring a leak on you. 5 to 8 years, something like that is what I read. But not really worried with us because we don't have any chlorine in our system, and if we did, the carbon filter would filter out any of the chlorine. So using PEX off of these fittings and the UV light hits it, not a big deal. Okay, before I got too far ahead of myself, I went ahead and installed a shut-off valve here. That'll shut off everything to the house. And if I got to service the pressure tank, I can shut that one off, and there's shut-offs upstairs too. Problem I'm finding now is I went ahead and got this unhooked. So you can kind of see what I was talking about earlier. This piece will now go on there to plug it, and then the piece up on top will hook directly into there, and that will have a 1-inch attachment for the PEX to hook into. The problem though, and this is a little concerning, is I know this was heavy before, but holy cow, this seems so much heavier now. And that may be a problem or a cause for the problem in our water pressure, is if the bladder has water, if the bladder failed. So in these tanks, water fills up down below. The top has a rubber bladder that you fill with air. This one takes 40 pounds, I believe, and that gives you pressure. It pushes the pressure out, and that way your pump doesn't have to run so much, because this is basically storing the pressure that you need. If the bladder fails, then water fills the whole thing, and then you end up where it basically doesn't do anything at all. So that could be a problem with our pressure, although recently the pressure has been just fine. But man, this just seems a lot heavier than I remember it being. So if I can get it out of that space, I'll have to move. Got our goat and chicken feed and stuff over there. Get that moved out of the way. Maybe I can get it outside and slosh it around and see if there's any, if I can feel if there's water up on top. But I don't know. It's going to be, getting it up this ladder is not going to be fun at all. I don't know. I got that 10-foot ladder down at the barn that I may go get. And I'm probably going to have some help because, well, I don't know. It's just a lot heavier than I remember. Guess I can get the, well, even the skid steer wouldn't get in here and lift it up because I can't go in as far as I did before. I'm starting to rethink putting this up on the mezzanine. Yeah, give it a shot. Give it a shot. Well, I just shook the tank in place and it's got water in it. So I'm about 90% sure that that tank is shot now, which is well below the lifespan. It's got a rated pressure up to 100 PSI, and we're set at 70, I believe, 65 or 70 on our pressure. So it shouldn't have failed, but it's clearly failed. So that sucks. I don't even know if I can find another one right now, and I've got all the water disconnected. Not good. I just got the phone with Tractor Supply. They have another one in stock. It's gone up $150 for the same thing. But they do have one in stock. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one muscled outside. If I take that valve out, and if water comes out of it, then there's definitely water in the top half. But it's definitely sloshing around. It definitely feels top heavy. So there's really nothing else I think it could be. So I'll get this outside and get it loaded up, and hopefully, I don't know, I'll go get the other one and get hooked up, and hopefully I can warranty this one out. The guy said that the manager wasn't in and didn't know how to do it until Monday. Today's Saturday. So hopefully I can get a warranty on this, because they should last longer than 1.5 years. Well, Barry helped me muscle that thing into the truck back there, as you can see. Yeah, so it's 118 pounds dry, and it's an 85-gallon tank. I don't think it's 85 gallons full, but even if it's 50 pounds full, 50 gallons, sorry, is 50 gallons full of water, and a gallon of water is, I don't know, was it 8 pounds or something like that? Yeah, that thing is ridiculously heavy right now. Now that I moved a fish tank, I used to have a, oh, my glasses feel messed up. Now that I used to have a 125 gallon fish tank, and we moved several times that year, and we decided we were going to move it with the tank about, I don't know, maybe a quarter full. Yeah, that was a mistake. Holy cow. We couldn't budget, and we kept draining it and draining it and draining it. Not only the glass, you know, half-inch thick glass on a 5-foot fish tank. Yes, absurdly heavy. But anyways, Tractor Supply says they have one. Oh, I've got to replace that tank anyways, because that tank is before the filter, so the bladder going out is actually a blessing in disguise. So that tank would be full of bacteria. It's before the filters. It's at 18 months of holding funky water in there from the holding tanks. So the fact that the bladder went out is really a good thing, because if it's still under warranty, which I sure hope it is, and it should be, I may have to pay the difference between the $400 that I bought it for and the whatever it is, the price it is now. But I'm okay with that, because I need to get a new pressure tank anyway. So I'm actually glad this happened before I hauled that dang thing up onto the mezzanine, broke my back, probably fell off the ladder. Who knows what would have happened, because it's so stinking heavy. So it's working out so far. Now, as long as Tractor Supply will warranty it out, then we'll be good to go. Otherwise, I just blew 400 bucks. But you know, safety of the family, gotta do it anyways. Well, I'm just leaving Tractor Supply and picked up the other one. They could not warranty, they couldn't warranty out the one that broke because it's a manufacturer's warranty. So it's a 5-year warranty. I was hoping I could bring back to the store and exchange it, but nope, I gotta deal with the manufacturer now, which is never fun. I typically don't even buy warranties because they are just an outrageous hassle to try and get anything approved through them. So we'll see how this goes. Well, I gotta head back into town because that pipe that goes into the bottom of the pressure tank, of course, has the bacteria in it. And I was going to bleach it, so I brought it into the house and asked Natalie about the bleach and where it was at, and get a mixture together. And she asked what it was for, and she basically stopped me dead in my tracks and says this type of bacteria, oops, turkeys, said this type of bacteria is not eliminated by, it gets embedded into the plastics, I guess. And bleach is no guarantee that it's going to eradicate it. That's why I said that this particular bacteria is so hard to get rid of, because I guess it's everywhere and it's extremely robust. So I have to go back into town and buy parts, because I have to rebuild that little 1-foot piece that comes out of the bottom of the tank. So what was going to be an hour-long project has now turned into about a 3-hour project, and by the time I'm done and get back, it will be probably a 5-hour project. That's how it goes. Well, on my drive into town, I realized that I probably screwed up. I'll show you what I mean when I get back to the house, but it's fixable. I bought parts, so we should be good. Okay, so really quick, what we have to do is this line came from the tanks down. So this is where I messed up at that I realized on my drive, is that this has probably got that, or does have that bacteria in it. So what I'm going to have to do is unhook right here. This is a 1-inch, and I don't have 1-inch parts. I can't get this Home Depot. I have to order it. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this off, transition down to 3/4 inch, and it'll be new all the way back over at a 3/4 inch. I got the parts to do that. It'll be a new check valve, new shut-off valve. I'll do a reducer there, and then we should be good to go. I don't think going from a 3/4 inch to a 1-inch is going to make that big of a difference, because this just goes down to the barn. We're not, dealing with big amounts of pressure. I got to figure out how in the world I'm going to get this up there. And then I had a thought that if I get this up there and hook it up and it breaks like this one did, how am I going to get it down? And I can think of it, I have to take it apart, drill a hole in it, drain it or something. I guess I can figure that out when it happens. But this may bite me in the butt a couple years down the road. Well, as my friend Dave at Break Hard Orchard said in one of his videos, it's time to do something stupid. All right. Stupid may have gotten the better of me here. I can breathe now. Well, it's been what, a day and a half or so since I redid the plumbing and everything, put that expansion tank or the pressure tank upstairs, and redid all of our plumbing here. So far everything's working out fine. I did end up just cracking the seal on these to get the air out. It's a mistake. I wasn't thinking that the air that comes up into these is going to have a hard time getting pushed back out and into the system. Anyways, that's really the only issue that I've had. The pressure to the second floor or third floor is actually really good right now. It's the best we've ever had it. So clearly putting that expansion tank up there is really helping. I even turned the pump down to 60 pounds. I think we had it at 65 was the top, and sometimes I'd notice it would go a little above that. So 65 to 70, we lowered that down to 60. And because that pressure tank's up higher now, I turned it up in the beginning because we weren't getting enough pressure up to the upper levels. But now with that pressure tank up higher, it seems to resolve that issue altogether, and our pressure is really good. The only problem with that though is that really good pressure means we're using more water, which is not something that's great when you're off-grid and on Rainwater Collection. But I do need to call in and warranty out this pressure tank that's down here that failed on us, and then I'll replace that with a new one, and hopefully that'll be the end of our issues. Now, I said the water tastes a little weird right now. That's understandable because we have new pipes. A new pressure tank is going to get that kind of I don't know, that rubbery chemically kind of taste in there, just because you're putting new components in. When we first hooked the system up, we had the exact same problem with just the taste was off. I didn't like the taste at first, and after about a week or so, and I got the newness blown out of the pipes, and it tastes good. I think the rainwater tastes great. I prefer it over anything else now. So anyway, just wanted to finish that up, that everything's going good. I dropped down to that 3/4 inch before we went down to the barns. Don't notice any difference there as far as pressure wise goes. Of course, the elevation of the barns is probably 15 feet or so lower than where the pump is at. So just that pressure in general is going to give us a lot of oomph down there. Did get rain the other day. Finally, it's been probably close to a month since we had a substantial rain. Got a rain, filled our tanks up. They're right up to about that lip right now. So that's awesome. And then we got more rain scheduled for this next week. So right now we made it through the first dry spell of the summer, and I'm sure we'll have more to go, but working out great.